prints too much money. This is a well-known, established fact in economics, is that one of the great determinants of whether we get inflation or not, that is increases in prices, is by how much money the government puts out there. The more money it puts out there, the more people have to spend on things, and that just causes the prices to rise without much else changing. And if they do that a lot, you get hyperinflation, and then it's a complete disaster. Now, how do we bring that into parenting analogy? We're not printing money as parents, you know, fortunately still rests with the government, but we do similar things. For instance, back to thinking about the eating analogy, one of the other things that has been suggested about getting your children to eat healthy food, and this was suggested by a book recently by Jessica Seinfeld, which is to disguise the healthy food in something else that the children like. Our third child was very amenable to anything that was draped in tomato sauce. You could feed her cardboard. If it was draped in tomato sauce, she would eat it. So we would, you know, so it was natural to think about giving her vegetables as 2 parts vegetables, 1 part sauce, which is quite a lot of sauce when you think about it, but that's what we were doing. But the problem with that is that if you want them to eat more of the healthy stuff, at the same time, you've got to give more of the unhealthy stuff, because you've got to keep the ratio going. Okay, and that's going to translate to the rest of their life as well, which is another issue. So the problem is that if you want to eat more healthy stuff, you've got to print more money. And that leads to inflation. Oh, yes, literally. All right, you've told them not to laugh, haven't you? Okay, so so that's basically, that is the same equivalent of prices rise when the government prints too much money. This is why you actually have to have a means of getting your children to eat vegetables that is not fixed, does not involve a fixed rate of exchange between the healthy and unhealthy. You've got to be able to negotiate it. And one of the benefits of that is that you are actually a peddler, as I mentioned before, of chocolates and things like that. And there's actually a controversy that's raging around the world about whether on chocolates or unhealthy foods in general get branded with characters like Shrek. Shrek was the most recent one. And it's how terrible that is, that they get branded with Shrek, because it encourages children to eat unhealthy food. Now, when you think about it from the perspective that I was trying to sell you on, that you are, as a parent, a seller of unhealthy food, well, let me tell you, I'd much rather have a 30-gram chocolate with a Shrek label and give that to my child than a 60-gram chocolate without a label any day. Because the child likes the Shrek, and so they're willing to accept less chocolate if there's a Shrek label. So in that environment, Shrek is my friend. It allows me to push up the price in real terms, in a real way, and get a better exchange than just simply inflating it by printing too much money, as sometimes suggested. Okay, the final lesson of economics. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. This was a challenge. What's a parenting example for this? But it turned out that actually the best example of this is a parenting example. And it's a story by 2 economists in the 1970s who were part of a lawyers' co-op for babysitting. This was in Washington. And what people would do in this co-op is they all agreed to babysit each other's kids. The problem with that is that you have to work out a way of making it fair. And so what they did is they issued script or coupons. And every time I babysat your kid, I'd give you a coupon that you could use to get somebody else to babysit for you. And it doesn't have to be just two-way, it could be the whole group doing it. That's a great arrangement. You see people pass it around, people are going out all the time, people are quite happy. You know, from an economic point of view, you know, there is a full employment. People are doing babysitting and people are utilising the fruits of that. Now, it turned out, for reasons that are a bit complicated, that there was a problem developed in this babysitting co-op. Maybe too many people went out one month. They had some other issues with how they integrated new members in and so on. And it turned out, you know, most people were sort of, well, I'll go out, but I better make sure I've got a few coupons there in case of emergency. And somehow a large enough group of parents found themselves low on coupons. Well, so what did those parents do? Well, they stayed at home. The problem is, of the parents who had a lot of coupons, there's only so much time and opportunity to go out. So they weren't really engaging in the services very much. And the people between them who had low coupons, well, they didn't want to babysit each other because they were worried about running out. They were sitting there at home, wanting to go out, not able to. The babysitting co-op found itself in a recession. Now, how did it get out of the recession? Well, one way is, of course, to require people, you must go out a certain number of times a month. But as I said, you know, if it's a bit hard, that might not get you all the way out of there. No, it turned out they realised they were in a hole. They didn't have enough of these coupons, and so they issued a few more coupons. People felt a bit more comfortable, and off that, economy went afterwards. And so in society, like in the babysitting co-op, there is a short-run trade-off between unemployment, people sitting at home doing nothing, and inflation, there being sort of too many coupons and trying to get people to babysit your kids. And you've got to manage that if you're going to have any good, sensible arrangement. And that is the end of the talk. Thank you.